Hey guys, I'm Meredith Hawley. I'm a lawyer and life coach, and I help employees shift power dynamics so that they can clean up toxic work environments and prevent harassment and discrimination. It's cold here in my house today, so I'm wearing my little scarf. I am working on my new book, and so I finally got to the writing part of it, and I'm really excited. My new book is going to be for business owners who own great businesses and who want to make sure that their cultural health of their employees is great. And so while I was writing, while I was starting to write, I was thinking about this topic of um, why employers and managers need to be active in trying to find out if there is a cultural health problem in their company. And so the reason that I want to talk about today is that the most common responses to trauma are not sort of what we're taught to expect. And when I talk about trauma, we can experience trauma in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be physical violence um, to create trauma for us. Um, sometimes even yelling can be a trauma experience depending on who the person is. So every person responds differently to what trauma is and perceives trauma in their own way. And so if we're trying to sort of categorize, does this count as trauma or not, it's not useful. So just assume there may be a trauma experience and that it's going to look different for each person and different for you than for other people. And then we want to say, how do people respond to that? So we're traditionally taught that fight or flight is the response that people have to scary things. And I've been reading the book The Soul of Money, and the author makes this really good point in The Soul of Money that fight or flight are traditionally what men are taught to do and how men are raised, and even maybe a more masculine response to a trauma experience. So when I say masculine, I mean like women can have a masculine response. So I'm not necessarily meaning it's limited to men, but we raise men and women differently. We give them different cultural expectations, and fight or flight is a response that men are taught to have, and that is a more masculine response. The more feminine responses and the responses that women are more trained to have are freeze or collaboration. And so because the justice system, because society is kind of set up to say, if trauma happens, then people go into fight or flight. When we see someone who does not go into fight or flight, we often say, well, that must not have been traumatic. And that's an error. That's wrong. Because people commonly experience an automatic freeze or even go into a collaborative mode when they're threatened. It's not correct to just expect fight or flight to be the only responses. So if managers aren't taking an active role in trying to find out whether there are any cultural health problems in the workplace, they often will miss them because many women, and it's even true of minorities, any sort of like people with non-dominant characteristics are taught to collaborate or freeze because we're raised to believe that we are the prey, not the predator. People who are raised to believe that they're more in the predator stance, this is sort of like a super basic fundamentals level of understanding this. People who are more raised to believe that they're in the predator stance are more typically going to respond with fight or flight. People who are more raised to believe that the world is dangerous and that we need to protect ourselves against a dangerous world, that we might be prey, are more likely to respond with a freeze response or collaboration response. It's true in nature too. You often see animals who are prey respond with a freeze response. So it's sort of primal stuff that our brain does that is typical It might not be the most productive response at all times, but if we're not accounting for that, it's more difficult for us to identify when there actually is a cultural health problem in the workplace. And so the easiest way to actually find out is to ask. And the easiest way to ask is to conduct a cultural health survey that is effective and ask the right questions and actually looks for a problem. So I offer those obviously to companies, and I've seen really interesting results from the companies that I've worked with. About when employees are reporting there actually being a problem in the environment, when employees are reporting, no, the environment's fine. If you don't ask, you tend to not find out, because the signals that we're looking for are not they're often not the signals that people are having. They're not the responses people are having. So I want to give you guys some homework from watching this video. Thank you for watching. And the only homework is, let me know, how does your workplace diagnose a cultural health problem? Even if you work for yourself, how do you make sure that you are on top of finding out if you're healthy or not? And then the next level of homework, the higher level of homework, is let me know if you want to be on my book launch team. So the manuscript's going to be done in January, and the book is going to be published in March. I'm really excited about it. If you want to be on my team, just let me know and I'll add you eventually. I'm sort of doing a slow build up to it because we still have a little time. But I love you guys. I hope you're good, and I hope this gives you a little bit of perspective. Thanks.